What up, everybody? Baz on Blades here. I want to do a short intro for this video to make a couple of points before we get to the meat of the matter. The first thing is it's going to be a long video. There may be some crude editing in it. At one point, we're going to take a field trip, call it a side quest. I'm going to try to keep it as entertaining as I can, as always, but it's going to be about 40 or 45 minutes long, so be prepared for that. The second thing is I'm going to say some controversial things about the knife that I am reviewing today. If you are a fanboy of this brand, the manufacturer, the design, whatever, and I offend you, I apologize for that. But I have to be 100% honest here at Baz on Blades. This is a non-monetized channel. It is not a business. I'm not selling anything. I do not make one penny here. All I have here is honesty. The people that watch my videos rely on that 100%. I've been told over and over and over how much that's appreciated. And that's what I have to give. Sometimes that means saying something controversial, saying something negative about a product. If it does offend you, please feel free to drop down into the comment section. I do not delete people or block people unless they try to make fun of my beautiful Southern accent. The greatest romance accent on the face of the planet. Just ask any French chick and she will tell you what makes her panties drop is a Southern man. So be sure, drop down in the comment section, comment. We'll have a conversation. Luckily, this controversy will not be about quality. It's about something else entirely. So sit back and enjoy the video. Thank you very much. What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we're certainly talking about a blade. We're talking about a blade that I have been chasing for months. What we've got here today is the Chaves Knives Blue Label Series Redencion 229. This is the Blue Label Series Redencion from Chaves Knives. This is their budget line, although you could argue about that. Maybe we could have a conversation. Anyway, I am a big fan of the Redencion model. I have always liked it, but have never pulled the trigger on any of the versions of it. I saw the Blue Label line and I thought, that's pretty interesting, and I still didn't pull the trigger on it until I found out a couple of facts about the knife that I really liked. They helped me make a decision to pull the trigger, and I finally caught one in stock. And as typically, I picked this up at White Mountain Knives. Thank you, Justin, at White Mountain Knives. This knife was $180, although I did use a 10% discount code and got it out the door, shipped to me for $160. $160 for this knife. So let's take a look at the packaging. We've got Chaves packaging here, but instead of black or red or whatever color they typically use, it is blue for the Blue Label series. And let's see what we're looking at right here. Redencion 229 drop point, handle black micarta, blade L-Max blackout finish. Let's take a look inside the packaging. Foam cover here. You've got a foam tray with pull ribbons. The knife sits in here. You've got an area for the pocket clip. The pocket clip that is in here right now is the plain pocket clip, and this is actually the pocket clip the knife ships with installed. I have already changed that out for the Chaves Knives skull pocket clip, which I much prefer. So let's take this out, see what else we have here in this box. We've got the microfiber cleaning cloth. It is branded cobalt blue for the Blue Line series with the Chaves marking on it. Down here underneath that, you've got 3 stickers. And then you've got some, thank you from the Chaves family for buying one of our products. This is how we make our living, and we like your money. And some instructions with a QR code to scan, and that's probably going to take you to their website, and you can buy some other stuff maybe. That seems very businesslike to me. So we've got the Chaves Knives Blue Label Redencion, and this review is going to be long. We're going to stick some sort of crazy stuff in here. We're going to get controversial. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and talk about our specs on this Blue Label Series Redencion 229. Again, this is the full size. It is also available in the Blue Label Series in the Street version, which is a smaller version of the same design. The 229 is a 3.5-inch blade length knife, and that's 9 centimeters. The blade width is 1.2 inches or 30 millimeters. Stock thickness, 122 thousandths of an inch or 3.1 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness, a nice slicey 15 thousandths of an inch or 0.39 millimeters. Your handle length, 4 5/8 of an inch or 11.5 centimeters. The width at the widest point is 1 1/4 or 32 millimeters. And the handle thickness is 507 thousandths of an inch or 12.9 millimeters, falling right on that 1/2-inch handle thickness that's sort of an industry standard. All this gives you an overall length of 8 1/8 of an inch or 20.5 centimeters. Your blade to handle ratio is very good at 0.75, 75%. Your weight is a chunky but okay feeling, a substantial feeling, 5.82 ounces or 165 grams. Material-wise, in the blade, we're looking at Elmax for our blade steel. Elmax is a sort of an improvement over S30V and S35VN, being a little more wear resistant than one and a little tougher than the other, and I can't remember which one it is, so there you go. What that gives you, it's typically Rockwell right around 60 Rockwell, and that gives you, in my opinion, pretty good edge retention, pretty good toughness, and good corrosion resistance. Elmax is a premium stainless steel. It is a 3rd generation powder metallurgy steel with a very fine grain structure, and a lot of the performance enhancements that come with that 3rd gen PM grain structure. You'll see in Elmax, it takes a very keen edge. It is very good for a polished edge if you want. It tends to be aggressively slicey in my experience. I like Elmax okay, but I like most blade steels. In your handle, you've got these beautiful black micarta scales. They are absolutely wonderful, wonderful micarta. I can't say enough about them. Very raised surface. Look at that. Very tactile, very canvasy feeling black canvas micarta. Everything else on the knife is steel. Okay, steel liners that are not weight relieved. 5.82 ounces or 165 grams. Steel small parts, including a steel backspacer and a steel pocket clip. Both pocket clips are stainless steel. Everything is T8 hardware, and it is all in these cap head screws that are slightly proud of the scales. You can see the chamfer on the cap head screw. That's about how much is exposed above the surface of this. So let's get a little controversial, and then we're going to take a field trip. How about that? A little side quest for everybody in this review. This knife is streeting for $180 everywhere. Again, I used a discount code at White Mountain Knives and got it for $160. And Baz on Blades is going to be very controversial right now by saying this knife is overpriced. It is not only overpriced, it is grossly overpriced. And we are going to talk about that in depth. So I have brought out another knife to compare. They are very comparable as far as features, build quality, size, everything. That is the Concept Knives Main Street. The version of the Main Street that I have here is in 154 cm for your blade steel. Also a very nice tactile micarta that is very attractive. Small parts are in stainless. It has standoffs instead of a backspacer. It also features a milled titanium pocket clip versus the milled stainless steel pocket clips on the Redencion, the Blue Label Redencion 229. These knives are very comparable in every way except for one. This knife, the Concept Knives Main Street, cost about $65. This knife cost $180. This knife is 3 times the price of the Concept. So what are the differences we're talking about here for a 200% price increase over the $60 or $65 baseline of the Concept Main Street? They are damn near the same knife in a different shape. Stainless steel liner locks, ceramic bearings on the pivot and the detent, the same size, the same quality. Everything about these knives is pretty much the same. Different manufacturer. You could say that Reate, who makes these Chaves knives, they're the OEM, the cachet value of their name may be worth a little bit more than Concept Knives, and I would not argue that. Reate is considered the best of these Chinese companies, and they do a fine job on all of their products. I have reviewed multiple different of their products, from this one at $180, the actual Reate, the PLXF that I did that was $130, all the way up to $400 models from them. I've got OEM stuff that they've done from other manufacturers. It's all very good quality, very good reputation, some cachet value there. But the honest comparison between these two knives, name aside, they're pretty much exactly the same. If you told me they came from the same manufacturer as far as quality, I would say, okay, I'm down with that. I understand that. So I have looked at a bunch of different videos on this Blue Label Redencion, and in just about every one of the videos they say something about the price, because $180 for a stainless steel liner lock with all steel parts on it, no titanium at all, that's a little pricey in a lot of people's opinion, even if they're not saying it's grossly overpriced like Baz on Blades is saying. But there comes a point in the video where they say something like, yeah, this thing is sort of pricey compared to other stuff like it, but it's in LMAX for the blade steel, and that's a more expensive steel. And they are sort of explaining away some of this 200% price increase in the blade steel. So we're going to take a little side quest here, a field trip, and we are going to take a look at exactly What is the difference in the blade steel cost on these two knives? Okay, let's put this blade steel cost argument to rest once and for all here at Baz on Blades. How many times have you been told that a certain knife costs so much more than a competitor because it's in a better blade steel? This gets bandied around so often within the knife enthusiast community that it has become pretty much a foundational truth, which is a shame because it is absolutely not true at all. Hardly ever. Premium blade steels do not cost that much more than mid-grade or lesser grade blade steels. Our examples here, the L-Max that is in the Chaves knives, Blue Label Redencion 229 versus the 154 CM that is in the Concept knives Main Street. So let's go over here to Admiral Steel for our 154 CM example. We're looking at the 3/16 stock thickness by 1 inch wide by 36 inches long, 3 feet. And that's $34.93 for the 154 CM. We will go over here to usa.knifemaker.com for our L-Max example at 172,000 stock thickness by 1 inch wide. These are $30.64 for a 12-inch piece. So we will extrapolate out for 3 feet, and that will be $91.92 for the L-Max. If we consider a 4.5-inch piece per blade blank, that's 8 blade blanks per 3 foot of steel. For the L-Max, that is a per blank cost of $11.49. For the 154 CM, per blade blank cost, $4.36. That is a difference of $7 and some odd cents per blade blank for the material itself, not a 200% price difference. A $7 and some odd cent per knife difference for the difference in the steel of those blade blanks. I don't understand why all the reviews that I've seen have commented about cost and the L-Max steel, because the cost difference is actually negligible. And now you've seen for a fact that that is true. Okay, we're back from our field trip, and we have put the blade steel price difference argument to bed once and for all. So what is the real reason that this knife is $180 and this knife is $60 or $65? The difference is not in that blade steel, that's for sure. We've established that. Is it in the cachet value of the Reate name, like I mentioned before? I don't know. It's not in the quality. They're equal quality. They're both a joy to carry and use, open and close, fidget with. Everything is pretty much everything with both of these knives. So that being said, everybody can sort of decide for themselves, and we will carry on with the remainder of the video, because I know right now there is 3 or 4 guys that are down furiously typing. Look at this, like 60 words a minute. They're typing, Baz on Blades, you've been going on about how overpriced this knife is, but you still bought it. Yeah, I did. I still bought it because I love the Redencion, this 229, the full size. I love this design. I wanted one, and at that price point, knowing the features, there is a couple of things about this knife that have been changed from the higher end frame lock version that really got me to pull the trigger, regardless thinking it's overpriced. So let's go ahead into fit and finish, then we'll cover action and then ergonomics and utility with this knife. And I'll explain to you why I still bought it, even though I think it is grossly overpriced. Fit and finish wise, it's damn near perfect. It's Riate all through and through. I've never had an issue with their quality, their fit and finish. Everything is super duper good with this knife. We will take a look at this blade. You can see one of the changes that attracted me to this version of this knife is that it is a full flat grind. It is not like the compound grind of the more expensive versions where it is a hollow grind in the primary and a flat grind out on the tip. Both the drop point and the Tanto versions of this knife are compound grinds in the more expensive versions, and I don't like compound grinds. I just don't. That's a personal thing. It's neither here nor there. If you like them, that's great. I'm all for you liking them. I just don't like that. So that is one of the things that attracted me to this version of the knife. The second thing is the blade stock thickness. On the regular Redencions, the blade stock thickness is about 30 thousandths thicker. And while I very much like the idea of a chunky bladed knife, at this width of a blade, this size of a blade, you don't really need that heavy blade stock. It's one of the reasons that they went with a compound grind, giving you that hollow ground primary to give you a thinner behind the edge thickness with the thicker blade stock. That is not necessary here on the Blue Label version of the Redencion 229. I very much like that. Again, let's go back. What was the behind the edge thickness on this? It was what, 15 thousandths of an inch or 0.39 millimeters. That's really slicey for a Chaves knife. I very much appreciate that. Those two things, the grind modification and the blade stock thickness being thinner, are primary reasons that I went with this knife. I also very much like the black micarta handle scales and the uniform look side to side of this version. I very much like that. So let's talk about the fit and finish on the handle. It's perfect, just like on the blade. You know, all the grinds are great and everything. All the machining's great here. All the finishing is great up here. All the finishing is great over here. Again, Riate knocking it out of the park with their basically perfect fit and finish. I like everything about this knife as far as the fit and finish goes. I'm pleased with it even at the high price point. I'm very pleased with the fit and finish. So no dings right there. Let's talk about action now. Here's where we'll get another little ding on this knife. The only other negative on this knife was, as reported by other people, it did come with a gritty pivot. It was a very fine feeling grit. So sometime either the bearing set, the liners, something was exposed to something, whether it was an abrasive or just a common manufacturing grit, just dirt in the air, whatever it was. It was very fine feeling. Other than the grittiness, I love the action of this knife, and I didn't want to take it apart before I did the review. So what I did with this knife was I just took it and I blew compressed air through it with my compressor and blew everything out the end of the knife, wiped it down, went back in with a couple of drops of clean oil, on one drop on either side of the pivot and one drop on the detent ball to recoat the detent track. And now you can see exactly what the action is like, except that's not what it was like after I cleaned it. It was way too drop shutty. It was just absolute free fall drop shutty. And again, I don't like to carry a knife like that because I show my knives to people, and majority of people are not prepared for a knife that is absolutely drop shut smooth. So I tighten the pivot down a little bit on this knife. I actually do that frequently with different knives that are too easy closing. And even tighten down, you can see, look at that. It is everything you would want. This thing's a joy to open and close, to thumb flick it, to, let's see, yeah, reverse flick, even Baz on Blue to typically sucks at reverse flick, has done it twice in a row and is not going to attempt anymore because the very next time I'm going to look like a complete idiot. It does have a detent ramp ground on the blade, and that is good because this thing's got a crazy sort of build. Look at how far forward the lock face is with the blade tang and compared to the center point of the pivot. And the detent ball is way up close to the edge of that lock bar. Right there. That's where the detent ball is. Right there, guys. That makes for a very tight area as far as a geometric relationship between the center point of the pivot and the lock face, that detent ball. Everything is so close together in here. That makes a very strong pivot area for a fold-in knife. I very much appreciate that, and I appreciate having a nice ramp up here for that, since that detent ball is so close to the open position of that blade. Lots of good stuff going on here with this knife. The action is very crisp, again, for thumb flicking, for reverse flicking. Look at that, third time for Baz on blades. Centering is absolutely perfect. The lockup is just bank vault. There is absolutely no play anywhere, any way, lateral or rotational, no play at all. And again, that's with a tightened down pivot. That is with a tightened down pivot right there. Fantastic action. Again, Baz on Blades is very happy with this knife, even though I feel that it is grossly overpriced. Let's talk about the ergonomics, utilitarian nature of this knife. Drop point, enough said. Drop point, thin behind the edge. This drop point has a high tip. It is very well done. When they did the secondary bevel, the edge bevel, they did not roll the tip. You got lots of deep belly right here to cut with as you get out towards the tip and you want to rotate across that belly. You've got a nice long section of straight edge here for your more detailed up close cutting. This knife does not have a forward finger choil. It has a oversized sharpening choil, and that's a stylistic decision. It does get that edge way out in front of the plunge grind, but you also do lose a little bit of cutting edge there. That choil, that sharpening choil, is not big enough to put your finger in. Look, I'm putting my finger, and my finger is on the edge. It's on the edge. If I use it this way, I'm going to cut myself in there. You could pull your finger back and try all this crap with it, but you're still going to be very close on top of that cutting edge. I'm on the cutting edge, guys. Okay? Any pressure at all, it's going to cause the skin on my finger to roll across onto that cutting edge. It's going to cut me. So that you got to be aware of that. If you like a forward finger choil, maybe you got like little dainty fingers and they'll fit in there. That's great. That's fantastic. I'm super happy for your dainty fingers that will fit up in there. That's just something you need to know about as far as the utilitarian usage of this knife. I got no issues with that. The thumb stud is back away from the cutting edge. So as you cut through material, the thumb stud's not going to be jamming up on everything. You've got some excellent big honking ass jimping. I love this jimping. I love the look of it. That big sort of gear look of that jimping. I love the feel of it. It carries not only on the blade, but on the handle itself. You got a nice long section. It is twice as long as the pad of my thumb. So I've got all kinds of area here to move forward and back towards the pivot to change the perceived center point of this knife for use. I love this jimping. Let's put some pressure on this jimping with my thumb, and you can take a look at that. I'm getting all that thumb up in that jimping, all up in it. It's like porn. Getting all up in that jimping. I love that jimping. Absolutely love it. Everything about it. The handle is a very wide open design with a shallow finger choil, a forward finger choil. It is not super deep, like totally tactical, like you're going to be stabbing bad guys with this stuff, or stabbing through car doors and cutting people out of a burning wrecked car with it, or bullshit like that. But it does give you an indexing point. It does give you enough of a choil to keep you from sliding up on the blade. If you do impact something solid, you don't want to slide up on that blade. It's sharp. It will cut you. The remainder of the handle is wide open, but it is ergonomic. You do have a drop towards the butt end. You've got a drop on the inside for a sort of perceived bird's beak here. That gets down low enough to give you that sort of bird's beak feeling that you're not going to slide back off of the handle during cutting. This is how it fits in my large hand volume, chunky medium length fingers. Plenty of room there, but it is not super unbalanced. I don't have a Paramilitary 2 out here to show you, but this handle length is not as unbalanced as on a Paramilitary 2. So you got that, what do we say, 75 percentile blade to handle ratio. That's getting up above that 70% point. That's very good. It is a well-designed knife. Another reason I've always wanted a Redencion. It is wide open, but ergonomic at the same time. It's got sort of this classic modern vibe to it. It's got enough style points to differentiate it from other knives. Then we got the skull clip on this thing, the pocket clip. This is a Chaves Knives trademark. I've always loved this. I love having this black micarta with the raised surface on it, very tactile, very hairy surface. It sort of makes it look sort of grayish. It gives you some contrast to see through the eyes on the pocket clip. I love that. I'm going to buy another set of scales for this knife because they have designed this Blue Label model where you can take the scales off of it without disassembling the knife. The pivot cap, the pivot head, the capping on this does not capture the scale. The scale is cut around it. So all you have to do on this show side is take off the 3 T8 screws that hold the scale on, and the scale will come off. You don't have to disassemble the pivot. On the back side, you're going to have to take the pocket clip off and then take the scale screws off. You can take off the scale there. I am going to buy a set of pink G10 scales to go on this with the black everything on this, black blade, black liners, black screws. The pink pocket, the pink handle scales are really going to pop. And talking about these eyes on this skull clip, the pocket clip popping. You'll be able to see that pink through there. Oh my God, they look so good. It's like $30 for a set of scales. You can go to the Chaves website. They've got the Blue Label Redencion scales. They've got 3 or 4 different colors of G10, a couple of different micartas. You've got brass, you've got copper, you've got titanium scales if you want to get to that titanium look like the frame locks. You can buy them all. They all go on the same way. Everything is CNC machine, so the tolerances are going to be so tight. There's going to be no difference in the fit and finish on them. It's just going to go right on there. You're not going to have any issues with that. And I've seen multiple people that have changed their scales out. They didn't have any issues. I'm down for that. Like I say, I'm going to get the pink. I love that. That's going to be putting me into my feminine mindset. And then I'm going to be like Princess Baz on blades. I'm okay with that. I'm man enough to be Princess Baz on blades with pink scales on this thing. And I'll be able to change them out anytime within just a couple of minutes. Yeah. Love the size of it. Love the changes in the blade stock thickness, the grind. Fit and finish is absolutely perfect. Action is stellar. You know, once I blew the pivot out, blew the dust out of the pivot. And again, I have not disassembled this knife to do a deep cleaning. I just blew that pivot out, re-lubed it, and then I tightened the pivot down because it was too drop shutty. It wasn't safe to hand to other people. I like this hydraulic drop shuttiness with just the, oh my God, that is so good. The action is so good on this knife. Yeah, it's overpriced. I mean, it's hard to argue that it's not overpriced. A stainless steel liner lock like this with no titanium on it at all. A decent, but, you know, not expensive blade steel. A few dollars of blade steel cost increase is all. It's overpriced. I mean, it is. It is just grossly overpriced. It is $30 overpriced. Instead of this thing being $180 street, getting it at $160 with a 10% discount, this knife, I think a price more in line would have been $150 street, so I could get it for $135 with a discount. I think that is a much better price point for this knife. It would have made it really competitive because, I mean, it's, you know, it's just not competitive at that price point. There's too many knives from these different Chinese companies that are fantastically made. They're custom designs that are well known. I mean, damn, it's a very competitive market niche. This knife is just overpriced, but it is so badass. I'm still happy that I bought it. It is a very high quality filling knife. It gets me into the Redencion finally with some changes I like very much. It just works really well. Feels really good in the hand, and even though I'm saying it's grossly overpriced, still saying that over and over and over and over, I'm still recommending this knife. If you want to get into a Redencion, you like aspects of this knife, you're okay with the materials at that price point, you don't want to spend $300, $400, $500 on the various titanium versions, depending on what you get, I'm going to recommend this knife. I'm going to recommend this knife, and I'm going to say thank you for sticking around through this long video. All of you Chaves knife fanboys, Redencion fanboys that are going to be offended, jump right down there in the comments section and let's have a conversation on this. But I think you've got to admit, Baz on Blades is pretty much right on the spot. I mean, I'm hitting the spot. I'm splitting that arrow right down with my next shot, Robin Hood style. And let's talk about it. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.